Hey, everybody, it is me, Brendan Kennedy, your host of the Brendan Kennedy Show. Welcome back, everybody. I'm very glad to be here again. Uh, Rick Walker is currently out of the game still, but I believe he is over the mountain and is going down the hill. I think we'll be seeing Rick Walker again tomorrow. So we'll be back to our regular scheduled programming. And so yeah, we all have that to look forward to tomorrow. And yeah, I simply can't wait to have him back. But he's doing fine. I know that there's been lots of messages of concern to make sure that he's doing okay. And Rick Walker is going to be just fine. Just a bout of illness, and he'll be back in action. And it's not going to be too long before we're back to our regular scheduled thing. And we are going to have lots of different things happening in the near future. We are currently making plans, so lots to be excited about. We are going to be looking at the biker rally in Ottawa at the end of the month. So we do have some boots on the ground that we have lined up there that will be able to show us what exactly is going to be happening there. We know that there is going to be all kinds of mainstream media spin on that. So Maverick News is going to be sure that we're going to be Maverick News is going to be sure to make sure that we can make sure the right narrative is being talked about. Or I guess maybe that might not even be the best word for it, but it's very important that we keep our eyes on the game, and that it's all about truth and finding what we feel is the best version of the truth, and not whatever mainstream media makes it out to be. So we have a couple of things lined up on today's show, and I hope that you'll stay with me, and together we'll be able to kind of go down the hell gondola together. Um, Somebody had informed us when we were talking about Shanghai last night. We shared the video yesterday. Chaos and government overreach in Shanghai, China, has been going on and happening. And we covered the footage yesterday of people on their high rises and stuff like that, screaming. People are going mad over there and hungry. People have run out of food. There is wild animals or people's pets who are starving, roaming the streets. I got to tell you, looking at the footage coming out of Shanghai has been something that's been really disturbing for me. I feel like this is something that we really need to expose and we really need to talk about. There's so many things that are troublesome in the world, and it's not only Ukraine, but I feel like what's happening in China very well could be what's going to be the blueprint for North America at the end of the day. Are they going to be planning to use this on us? Is this what we could expect? Army of hazmat police officers keeping us in our house? Well, it may sound far-fetched right now, but everything we have been through in the past 2 years has been pretty far-fetched. I kind of know the footage I want to share with you tonight is concerning. But once again, we need the truth out there, and we need people to see it with their own eyes. Somebody in the comment section yesterday had alerted me to what was going on with this, and I wasn't able to really speak on it at that point in time. But it is true that in CCP China, if they're rounding you off to Camp COVID, then ultimately, like an isolation internment camp, this is what they do to your pets. So I have to warn you guys, this video is disturbing, but once again, we need to get this out here. I think that people should be talking about this. It is just very disturbing. And I'm not a huge animal guy or anything like that. I'm not a PETA person, but this is disgusting. I don't feel this is appropriate for government tyranny to extend this far. And it does always hurt me when animals are harmed. And yeah, I believe Shenyang is also locked down at this point too. Now there is some word that lockdowns in Shanghai are looking like they might start breaking down soon enough. But this is a whole new level of what the hell. And not only in this situation is this really gross, but I seem to remember during the first lockdowns in China, when they at that point had a zero COVID policy, just like they do now. If you had a positive coronavirus test result, they would weld your door shut in your apartment, which is also very disturbing. We talk about looking for crimes of against humanity and war crimes and stuff like that. This is absolutely disgusting, and it goes deeper than that too, because we do know that there's anybody with a positive test result in Shanghai is being dragged off to internment camps, and there is footage that is coming out about that, which I do have some lined up here, and I think that is also worth sharing because suffering of pets is bad, but also so is suffering of humans. Just a brief moment here. Bear with me, people. I'm still currently working out the ins and outs of doing this kind of solo on my own. But the good news is that Rick Walker is going to be back tomorrow. And here is more footage. This is an internment camp. And we don't need this in our country. I am so dead against this. This having a zero COVID policy is never going to happen here ever. It's impossible. The government is not capable of stamping out a virus at any point. And we should really be concerned that our government has gotten zero COVID policy ideas from the CCP, because lockdowns at no point in time were ever a part of North American disease control, unless if somebody was positive or something of that nature. So I'd also done some further digging about the city of Shanghai to kind of see what is the cause and effect of millions of people being locked up in their homes in Shanghai, China, what the effect that is going to have on our country. Because it is going to have an effect. For every cause, there's an effect. So, because they locked down Shanghai, I believe that we're going to be in a bit of a pickle, supply chain wise. And I'll be able to kind of show you what I mean here. So, I have found out that Shanghai is the location of the busiest port in all of Asia. And there is reports that shipping containers are not making it out or in of the facilities there. And with that being said, I think that maybe in a month or so, we're not going to see it now. Supply lines are already kind of stressed out a little bit right now. I did notice at the grocery store today, a lot of empty shelves, a lot of prices going up. This is only going to add fuel to that fire. We do a lot of trade with China. It is one of the most biggest trading partners with all the West. So I think down the line here, we could expect something more to come out of this. And it didn't really hit me last night when we talked about it at first. But we're going to have to keep an eye on this because it's not good for the Chinese people. It's not good for people in the West. This is just bad news all around. And I'll show you what I mean here. I'm just not talking out of my rear orifice. Hold up. Bear with me. Too many windows open. Here we go. Thanks for bearing with me. Shipping containers are stacking up at China's ports as COVID lockdowns block truck drivers from accessing docks. Containers full of frozen food and chemicals are piling up at China's biggest port in Shanghai as the lockdown of the city and virus testing means truckers can't get to the docks to pick up boxes. A shortage of trucks to haul containers from the port is impeding the clearance of imports. Ocean Networks Express said in a customer advisory Wednesday. While the port is operating normally, the critically high numbers of refrigerated containers and items classified as dangerous goods piled up at two storage yards. Piling up at two storage yards means some ships carrying those types of cargo may not be able to unload any more boxes at the port, it said. Shanghai is now the epicenter of China's worst COVID outbreak in 2 years, with almost 20,000 new cases reported just on Wednesday. The shortage of trucks is also hitting companies in the city, which have been able to continue working through the lockdown. With chip giant semiconductor manufacturing International Corp struggling to secure trucks to ship out finished goods. Truckers form a crucial component of supply chains in China, moving raw materials from coastal ports to factories further inland. The backlog is likely contributing to growing ship queues off China, threatening even more delays and higher freight rates in coming months. So, let's examine what that means. They can't ship raw materials to the factories, so therefore they can't make goods. They can't ship out materials from the factories, meaning that you can't receive goods. You can't. We have a double-edged whammy here. And all it's going to do at the end of the day is make life for people like me and you and lots of other people you know far more expensive. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about this because I have heard people talking about the atrocities happening in Shanghai, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of, well, what's the effect of this going to be? Tight restrictions on truckers in other parts of China are also delaying the delivery and return of containers to ports, according to freight forwarders. There is a possibility that containers of frozen food or hazardous items like lithium batteries or chemicals won't be able to land at Shanghai and will need to be rerouted to other ports. Yanishen terminal at Shenzhen port in southern China will halt the collection and delivery of containers at all berths for about 2 hours Thursday evening to smooth out port operations, according to the advisory and sent to customers. Truckers were advised not to arrive earlier to pick up boxes as they could get held up. And now, interestingly enough, when you're at the port of Shanghai's website and you check out their media press releases, it doesn't actually say anything. It doesn't say anything about this whatsoever. So, and you also see the communists shining through at this beginning. There was somewhere here in the letter here where they had indicated, oh, there's nothing wrong, nothing to see here. And after I'd look at that, I gotta say, like, this is going to affect us a lot more than the disturbing images that we'd seen there before. Now, I would like to pass the question off to you at this point. Do you agree with what I'm saying here? Do you disagree? Do you have a different point of opinion? We'll go through some of the comments here and we'll take a look at that. Using the pandemic to make change. Sounds like what we do here. Sorry, but peaceful won't cut it. People need to gather and start capping these elites. No, they don't. We can't do that. That's not allowed. Fauci calling for more masking. What an asshole. Yes, I would say. He'd probably asking for 5 masks or something this time again, as he has in the past. And he's probably enjoying his time back in the spotlight because he's been out of it for so long. People getting the Fauci ouchie are spreading the hot cold, which are putting people into isolation here. You know, I do believe that. And that certainly was the case with myself. And I do have a feeling that most people who do have the Fauci ouchie are experiencing less mild symptoms, but I think they're just using it and saying, oh, well, I'm not that sick, so maybe I'll just go out and spread it, kind of thing. Angel Hood says, more smoke and mirrors. It very well could be. I'm not sure. Rick's still in hiding from the feds. No, we are not hiding from the feds. Rick should be back tomorrow. And yeah. Don't know what that is, but now I know I never want to watch it. It was quite disturbing. It's very disturbing. I mean, these images are all over the internet. I think we're all kind of concerned with these behaviors and these actions. And we all know the left-leaning parties in Canada, especially where I live in Ontario, there is a lot of left-leaning individuals who are charged with operating the healthcare system, who do want to enforce mandates against the people and mandates against people's wills. So that's something that we really have to watch out for, because there's a whole lot of people who think that the government is going to be able to deliver safety to them, but I don't think it's going to work out well at the end of the day. Yes, hugs and honks. So hard to believe we have such wicked people living in this world, and it's not going to get any better. Well, I am hoping that we can make it better. It was very disturbing to share those images with you, to which I do apologize. But I think we all need to get the full picture of what full-blown government overreach looks like. And definitely with animals and people. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff I decided to not show. There is footage going around of CCP officials beating a corgi to death, and that is also very disturbing news. I don't want this for our world. In fact, I think China is very serious. We have to. The only thing Joe Biden has gotten right in his campaign as president is, after he got elected, he said China is out for our lunch. They're after our lunch, and that's true. We need to watch them. A true Fauci keeps you from getting sick. A true vaccine keeps you from getting sick. Interesting to say the least. This toxic soup makes people sick. My neighbor needs help. I'll be right back. Masking the truth. There is a lot of that. I mean, there are organizations talking about this, but they're not talking about what the effect of locking down 23 million people is. That's a very sizable number. That is almost the size of Canada. Pretty close. I mean, what's Canada? 37 million? Absolutely crazy. This is the benefit of letting government play globalists. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. How's 1960? That at the end of the day, if you think about it, we have been kind of globalists for a little while. And certainly the British Empire had globalist ambitions, where they had colonized pretty much all around the world. And if you look at that, and now you look at the age of information, that somebody sitting in Ontario, Canada, is able to pull up details and footage from China, it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. If this was any other time, we would get this news like months after it already happened. If it was about humanity issues and not money, they would be giving the food to residents. Well, I think that they should have been feeding food to people. I know a lot of city dwellers probably don't keep a lot of food stored up in their homes, especially for the bare fact that a lot of these individuals probably don't own vehicles. They probably have a little grocery cart. They get their groceries week to week, probably. It's absolutely piss poor planning by officials there. And this is a case where I would absolutely 100% say the cure is far worse than the disease. Food shortages are needed for social instability. I think they meant WEF. And yes, that's a great point, actually. Let's talk about that for a second. We don't really know what it's like to be hungry here. I mean, I'm sure we get hangry, and we probably don't go missing too many meals throughout the day. We all typically have set diets here. It's absolutely astounding what happens to the human body and the human mind once it goes into starvation. And we'd seen that in the video footage I shared with you yesterday of people screaming out of their balconies, hungry. And there's also people who have taken their refrigerators that are absolutely empty and they've dragged them out to their balconies. And interestingly enough, with that, going hungry and being in solitary confinement will drive you mad. And that is just torture. But if that's what's coming here, man, I don't want I don't I don't want to be driven mad with hunger, that's for sure. uh, there's no way they're doing this for the cold in China. They are testing an apparatus for biological warfare. That wouldn't surprise me. It's also kind of funny how they had the origins of the virus there, but they spent majority of the pandemic not locked down. I do know people who live in China, and they've had relatively good freedom, probably more freedom than here. And I've even heard some Chinese people say that they have more freedom than us in North America here, which is just absolutely mind-blowing and insane. We need to get away from buying from China. We can do things in the States and Canada. Yes, we can. I think we have to understand something, though. If we were to just do that willy-nilly, or even if we eased it, I think that would add to inflation for a while, but I think it would balance itself out after a bit. But that's going to depend on a lot of different factors. So, good point. I do believe that we can do that. I think it's possible, but it wouldn't be without growing pains, if you know what I mean. WEF. Yes, I did catch that. My daughter got it and cut me off from them and the kids. I don't get it. Yeah, that is unfortunate. Container world is sabotaged by evergreen conspiracy or to many coincidences, like a ship stuck in the Suez Canal, or ship in lock turning his prop, or now that other ship stuck on sandbank. Just an idea. Could be. Definitely a lot of coincidences there because we haven't really seen anything like that before the pandemic. Interesting thought. That's something I think we should take a look at. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but maybe that's China's way of putting sanctions on the rest of the world by not shipping out containers, or maybe a convenient way for the elites to create shortages. I think you're more on par with the second point than the first point because it's my understanding China doesn't mess around, and if they wanted to do something malicious to us, they wouldn't say, "Oh well, we had this massive viral outbreak." They would be like, "No, you guys screwed around, and now we're going to implement sanction 1, 2, and 3, or 4, 5, and 6, that sort of thing." Hi, I think the article is right. Everything is already going up. Like you said, tonight the shelves are empty. Produce is a joke. It's so expensive and doesn't last. I'm so concerned. I actually just bought a tower garden to grow veggies and fruit all year inside my house. I think the truckers might go on strike yet or block bridges again. Well, I'm not sure what's going to happen with truckers at this point. It's kind of a waiting game. There's a lot we're going to see out of that, though. Who knows? But you make some good points. Lots of empty shelves, and yes, you should grow your food at home. Depending on where you live, a lot of us have access to a lot of excellent farmers markets, and you're able to go and buy local produce and that sort of stuff. I highly suggest taking a look at your local farmers markets. I know I'm able to get some pretty good price produce just about all time of the year. Um, Another thing to look at is different styles of preserving and canning your vegetables, because it can make them last a really long time. I highly recommend it. I do know that with Russia, because it's traditionally a really cold country, and this is before anything to do with Ukraine, mind you, this is just a cultural thing. There's a lot of things that they pickle because traditionally there was no produce in the wintertime. So, very good point. You should grow your own food. Even if it's just a little bit, it can save you a lot. Our job was trying to enforce that mass C star star star, and it didn't work too good. NB is terrible for division. They want people to rely on government. Easy to see. Yes. If we give them an inch, they will take everything. Don't submit to anything ever. Yes, they have already taken enough, as Rick Walker had famously said in one of the last broadcasts he was on. They have taken too much. We don't need to give them any more. We don't have to. Doesn't need to be that way. We just need to say no. Be politically involved in your community. Ask questions. That sort of thing. Canada needs to start relying on ourselves for what we need. Self-sufficient. We absolutely do in a very large degree. I think the best way to look at that, Karen, is you need to think about, well, what are the things that our country would need in the time of war? So we'll need all the regular things that we already need. We need food. We need medicine. We need everything that goes around medicine. We need steel, natural resources, those kind of things. We need all of that stuff to be made here. And I think it goes way beyond any nationalist sentiments, and it goes more towards national security. If something bad happens in your country and you need to combat it, you're not going to be able to do that if you don't have the supplies to do it. So you have some very interesting points. We do need to be self-sufficient. I'm not sure. The truth is horrific, but we need to know. Yes, and that's why I shared it here. I don't take any type of pleasure in those things. In fact, I'm extremely horrified. And yes, the truth is hard to take. It will always be, but at least we are able to observe all this together. So thank you, Maverick family, for being there with me to discuss that. And I mean, it's one of those things that we're going to get through. It's one of those things that I'm really glad to have you guys here, and that we're able to sit and have these discussions. And once again, it has absolutely been a great pleasure to come on here every evening with Rick Walker or either myself as well, and come back and do the show and talk about this stuff, because we're all we've all been through a lot together, and all of the voices that you guys all offer, like, you guys aren't stupid people. You're very intelligent, and probably some of you are far more intelligent than I'll ever be. But that's why I love being on here. I try not to be married to a whole lot of my ideas, and that I do have a very small amount of principles that I like to hold true to, and that's what I kind of use to navigate information that I talk to you guys about with. Um, but definitely, thank you so much for being here with me. And yes, once again, Rick Walker should be returning tomorrow, and we'll be back to our regular stated selves. And I mean, I got to tell you, after I was sick myself with the Rona, it did take time. It took time for me to get back to normal or to feeling like myself again. I did have a lingering brain fog where it's this feeling like that feeling that you get when you wake up in the morning and it goes away after your morning coffee. I had that for over a week after I was feeling better. And so Rick will probably be back tomorrow, and he'll still need some time to regen and build himself back up, but he's going to be all right, folks. Everything's just going to be fine there. And I think with that being said, we need to take a look at something's been going on. As you all know, there is the current member of parliament, Pierre Poilievre. He is a front runner for the Conservative Party of Canada, which, if you're in the United States, that'd be like your Republican Party, essentially. Well, this has been trending on Twitter for like the past 2 days. The word Trumpification. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but they're pinning that on Pierre Poilievre. And it's been trending on Twitter for the past 2 days. And we've all seen Pierre Poilievre on this show at one point or another. We have also expressed that we're all kind of concerned with perhaps a big lack of trust. Yes, there is going to be an update on Mr. Top, James Top, all Canadian hero, trekking across Canada, kicking butt, fighting against mandates. So yes, I will be delivering you a update on James Top. And yeah, this is a big concern for a lot of people in the freedom movement. And so Mr. Pierre Poilievre, excuse me, he wants to be a leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. There is an election happening with it. We have interviewed candidates on the Maverick News show. One of them being Joseph Bourgault, a very interesting man. I did appreciate a lot of his thoughts and sentiments. It was good to speak with him. He is also in this race, but Pierre's got a lot of things going for him right now. He has a lot of endorsements from MPs. He has been hitting up rallies all across Western Canada, and he's been knocking it out of the park with sometimes over 1,000 or more. And I'll let you guys know where I stand on this, because I'm more than happy to be open with you and willing to have that chat with you about it. Is I don't quite trust him. I like him, but I don't trust him. His forerunner, Aaron O'Toole, he ran on much of the same things as he did, such as defunding the CBC, the Communist Broadcasting Corporation of Canada. We've heard that before. He also wants to scrap the carbon tax. We've heard that before. He's banking his whole thing on freedom. I like those things. I gotta say, I do like them. He seems like he's going to do something, but maybe he isn't exactly a WEF shill, and I'll tell you why. Because CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, or as I call it, the Communist Broadcasting Corporation, has been looking to slander him. And so I have a CBC article here. We're going to take a look at it. Big crowds turning out for Poilievre suggests a very different kind of conservative leadership race. I don't know about that, but let's go on. Crowds can motivate, but votes are what win leadership races, says analyst. The last two conservative leadership races, the supposed frontrunners stumbled before reaching the finish line. This time, however, the frontrunner is only showing signs of gaining ground. Swelling crowd counts and MP endorsements aren't ironclad guarantees of success, but they certainly don't hurt. And Pierre Poilievre, with his populist appeals to frustration with government gatekeepers and calls to make Canada the freest country on earth, is doing well on both of those measures. Poilievre has tweeted photos of rallies in British Columbia and Ontario, attended by hundreds of people. His visits to Calgary on Tuesday and Edmonton on Thursday are expected to draw more big crowds. They're unprecedented in a leadership race, said Melanie Paradis, a veteran of two previous conservative leadership races, who served as former leader Aaron O'Toole's deputy campaign director. He has a compelling narrative, and it's important to credit that. And just bear with me here. I know this is boring, but I'm going to get to the exciting part, because there is an exciting part to this, and I think we need to look at it. The theme of Poilievre's campaign is freedom. His rallies target government policies that he argues restrict those freedoms. Everything from vaccine mandates to carbon taxes to government policy on inflation. Poilievre promises that if he becomes prime minister, he'll put a stop to all of it. His supporters praise Poilievre for being an unapologetic conservative. Many like his willingness to bluntly criticize and even mock the Liberals. The detractors worry he'll deepen divisions within the party and the country. Some have gone as far as to warn of the Trumpification of the Conservative Party if Poilievre wins. Some powerful truths in this. So this guy here, he goes, thread with at Pierre Poilievre leadership campaign. We are witnessing the accelerated Trumpification of the Canadian conservative movement, and at CPC HQ, which is Canadian progressive conservative, and a likely remake of the Canadian political landscape greater than. Anyway, emerges of reform in the early 1990s and blah, blah, blah. So, this is absolutely stupid. Like, I'm not going to lie. But my point is this article goes on to essentially slam Poilievre for the remainder of it, where it's just crapping all over him. So, it begs the question, if the CBC hates him, maybe it's not that bad. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. The Conservative Party needs to be revamped. That is going to be a possibility if Pierre gets in. It's looking like a slam dunk for him. I don't endorse the guy at this point. I'm watching. I'm listening. I'm paying attention. That's what my goal is here. And my goal with you guys is to talk about it in a free and open way where we also kind of get to laugh at these leftists who are trying to turn Trumpification into some boogeyman word in Canada. And I don't know if you guys have seen any of Pierre Poilievre's things that he's done. However, I have to say, well, I meant to say any of the rallies he's done, because I have, and none of it screams Trumpification whatsoever. And when you go on to look at the hellhole cesspit that is Twitter about Trumpification, it kind of makes you have to laugh just looking at some of these things. Some people are really concerned about this, where they believe that Pierre Poilievre is going to be the devil incarnated. Big crowd turning out, different kind of conservative hashtag leadership race. So that's the article we just read. Oh, here we go. Trumpification. Bitcoin promoter is the last thing Canadians need. Interesting. I kind of agree with I'm skeptical about Bitcoin. I know a lot of people absolutely love Bitcoin. I'm just not sure about its true intentions and what it could truly be used for, because I think that there is a huge possibility where the government could take over what Bitcoin is. They could also manipulate it somehow. I'm kind of concerned about it. Seeing Pierre Poilievre talk about it kind of makes me concerned about it too. But again, I'm just not sure. We need more data. It'll have to wait and see. And here we go. This is what I was talking about. Trumpification is trending in Canada. No shit. Conservatives, congratulations, conservatives. You finally succeeded at, well, something, I guess. Well, it's kind of true in Canada because the Conservative Party movement has blundered and failed the last election quite badly. Well, not devastatingly, but they did take a huge hit with a lot of their policies that they got rid of and disappeared. But anyway, I digress. I'm sure there are those who actively celebrate this nonsense, while the more passive cons will shrug it off as insignificant. He calls it dangerous. Also interesting, like, look at this guy. He's got all the buzzwords. What else we got? Did you borrow one of Trump's spin doctors to write that copy? Did you borrow one of Trump's spin doctors to write that copy for you? We had the biggest crowds. People were begging for a ticket to attend my hate rally. I pray the majority of Canadians aren't as ignorant or gullible as American far-right rubes. So, with that being said, I think I will, at this point, take a look at this one last article with you about Pierre, and then I'll open the floor to you and see what you guys think. Am I crazy? And here we go. Pierre Poilievre's leadership bid marks a toxic turn for Canada's Conservatives. Ooh. Well, we have to remember that they absolutely loved Erin O'Toole, who I would have to wager was the absolute worst Conservative Party member of all time ever. Just saying. But in either case, I'm not so sure Pierre is as dangerous as everybody says he is. Now that we've pointed out that the left absolutely hates him, kind of makes me like him a little bit better. A little bit. Still, I don't trust. I'll be watching and I'll be waiting with you guys. What do you guys think of Pierre Poilievre? Do you think he is going to make the leadership race for the Conservative Party of Canada, or do you think he's going to blunder and fall? I'm interested to know what you think about this, because just about everybody I know is of the opinion he's a WEF shill, which he could be, but I don't feel that the case for it is that strong based off of just a picture of him and Gates at Bill Gates, that is, a picture of him and Bill Gates at some kind of conference or something. But anyway, let's see what you guys think. Laugh out loud. Trump knockoff? Now I've heard it all. That's what I'm saying. Trump is like 10 times cooler than Pierre Poilievre ever will be. How exactly are we to judge the worth of a politician? Well, take a look at what he's done. My concerns with him primarily lie with he has voted for the Paris Climate Accord. I don't agree with that. Should have never have been done. You can almost kind of say that Pierre Poilievre is partially responsible for our energy mess because he voted with that. He voted on it at the time. No, not only that, he was silent on a lot of issues. A lot of issues. He dropped little Easter eggs every now and then. But it begs the question, whose side is this guy on? I'm not 100% certain he's on our side. We'll have to see. And also, dare I say, if he does get rid of the carbon tax and he does get rid of funding for journalism, that would make me a little bit more happy. I would sleep a little bit better at night. Pakistan just had their best PM voted out with no confidence. Why can't that happen here? I really wish it could. But you see, when the daddies of the Conservative Party of when the daddy of the Liberal Party of Canada gets together and marries the mummy of the NDP party, and they get together and they get married, they create what's called a uh, a coalition government. So they join forces to make a majority government. So we're not going to be able to vote. They won't. Voting is going to go only one way in Canada until 2025. Scary at best. I agree, Nicole. Only thing toxic is that experimental bleep and QR codes. Yeah. We don't have much to choose from. That's kind of what I'm done with. And I don't know if you guys remember the Wii scandal in Canada. So there was the WE charity group in Canada, which Justin Trudeau's family was quite cozy with. And there was a ethics scandal that kind of brewed out of that. And there was all kinds of problems that happened with it. Pierre Poilievre was the guy who basically almost broke Justin Trudeau, and it's got to be one of my favorite political videos of all time. It's just seeing Pierre Poilievre rip Justin Trudeau a new thing. Don't be fooled by him. He is anti-white. I'm not fooled by anybody. I'm just watching the show. We got to see what's happening. There is no evidence of him being WEF. There is. He was on the WEF website. We have seen that. We have showed that to you as well. Not sure how many conservatives are WEF. I'm pretty sure majority WEF are Liberal NDP. There is some. There is some in there. Absolutely some. Brendan, did you see RT covered Canada and Ottawa last night? No, I did not. I must have missed that. Especially since they have they blocked most of their content in Canada. He will make it. It's his turn. We'll see. I think Pierre is a win for the left. Guaranteed that is who Justin Trudeau would like to face. Hey, you know what? I would like to see that too, to be honest. I don't think it would go well for Justin, but who knows? You could be right, because just like last time, promises were made, promises were not kept. It was a big disaster. Doesn't matter who you vote in, because they could just turn around on a dime and change whatever story they want to. So I'm looking out for that. I'm paying attention for that. I think we all should. Seems to be the best they have right now. There's lots of interesting candidates. There's Roman Babar. I really like Roman Babar. Just kind of his personality, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to muster it together. I don't think he has as much influence as Pierre does. Going for Max. He's too smooth. That's scary. That's a good point. He is too clean, like squeaky clean. And in his history, he basically graduates university. He gets in with Stephen Harper and the new Conservative Party in the 2000s, and he moves out west, becomes a conservative member of parliament, and stays a conservative member of parliament for a long time. Ugh. It's a weird story, and it's not one that you see quite often in politics, maybe if at all ever. So yeah, that's kind of scary. I kind of don't like that by his actions. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. More like Trump's account. Okay, that's good. I like. Yeah, I he does kind of give this air off that he's very boring. He can be exciting. He's very good with words. I like his the way he speaks on things. So compared to Trump, yeah, he is definitely an accountant. He's about the only choice that we have to straighten out the conservatives, and he doesn't have Trump's mouth. No, he doesn't have Trump's mouth at all. That's a good point. Thank you for that, Keith. I'm concerned about Bitcoin being involved with Bill Gates. I'm concerned about Bitcoin being involved in all kinds of crazy stuff. I do know that it has been a means to purchase a lot of illegal things through the black market. There was a non-governmental organization out in Vancouver, British Columbia, where they used Bitcoin to purchase all kinds of drugs to distribute to the homeless population there. Basically, it is being used to fund organized crime, to say the least, which is another concern that I have with Bitcoin. I think he's going to take it by a landslide because us Canadians don't have any other choice, and we do not want what's there right now. Yeah, that's kind of how it feels on my end. But let's keep an eye on it, right? Let's not lose our heads. Bitcoin is controlled. Watch David Morgan's video series called The Cryptocurrency Conspiracy. That is interesting. I'm going to actually have to do that because you guys may remember when we had Kyle Kemper on the show. Absolutely phenomenal guest. I can't believe this guy is related to Justin Trudeau. Kyle Kemper is a huge Bitcoin advocate. He loves Bitcoin. But I'm kind of concerned with it. I don't trust it. But that's possibly because I also maybe don't understand it so well. I don't get it. But hey, there's lots of people who are far smarter than I am when it comes to that stuff. But I will actually have to check that out. So thank you for the recommendation. I appreciate that. Bring back Preston Manning. We wish, eh? Ooh. That's a hit piece article. He's nothing like Trump. That's kind of the funny thing. Now that Trump is out of office, they want so bad for there to be a brand new Trump. CNN has been basically propped up by Donald Trump. He was a news getter. People started paying attention to the news when Donald Trump was in. Now that Donald Trump is gone, nobody's watching CNN. They had launched CNN Plus, their online streaming service lately, and it's a total hell. It's like a total crap show at this point. With I believe they have less than 10,000 viewers watching, like a whole streaming platform that they have created for news. So I have a feeling that CNN might actually end up losing that in the end. They may be. I think people might stop watching it to the point where it just collapses, or they have to do a complete turn on it because everything woke turns to crap, and CNN is a big advocate for going woke. So we'll have to see. Actions speak louder than words. We need to act on actions, not words. This is true. Half and half. We need to be able to talk about our actions and clarify our actions and discuss our actions. There needs to be talk. There needs to be talk and action. So far, he's fulfilling all the components of the talk aspect, but the action-wise, that's where we're all concerned. Ooh, that's good to hear. Thanks for the comment, Big D. Jerk meat thing. Yeah. O'Toole turned me off from the Conservative Party. Pierre looks okay so far, but talk is cheap. It seems like we're all in the same boat on this aspect. O'Toole did turn me off of the Conservative Party as well. I was a card-carrying Conservative member for a long time. Very interesting, though, that I no longer wanted to. I never voted for O'Toole, but after he started walking back on everything he had done, all the promises he had made, it just left a very sick feeling in my stomach. I absolutely hated it. So yeah, it turned me off from there completely. I don't think so, but we'll have to see. Doug Ford will win massively in Ontario. Pierre will be lucky to win a riding in Ontario against the Liberal NDP in a federal election. That's not true because he wins in his riding every year since 2007. Doug Ford, however, maybe. We'll have to see. I'm not sure. I'm still betting on a Conservative Party minority. I don't think it'll happen. My fear has always been if he is not the flip side of a Trudeau, but smarter, if he is not WEF, he will have a hard hand on everything. Yeah, I can see that. I don't trust government, period. He keeps saying the same speech over and over again. Yes. You see, that's what a lot of them do, right? They go and they cart around all these different events all the time. Being a politician like that is probably, just using the same rehash speech all the time. Even Maxime Bernier had done that. He gave the same speech that he had basically advertised on when he was doing rallies in Southern Ontario last summer. So, yeah. I don't trust government either, but I like politics far too much. I have to say. I don't know why. I'm weird like that. I'm one of those weird politics persons. Sue me. Pierre is acting his part just like the rest of his no good nothing politician. You know, I'm half in the boat with you. I really am. All right. With that being said, folks, we are going to take a quick 30-second break, and I'll be back with you in a moment. We'll jump into the next story. So, I'll be back.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
And you can help us out by donating at freedomreporters.com. That is freedomreporters.com. I think I forgot to put the hot link in the video description again. I do apologize. That is something Rick Walker usually does. So I'm just kind of catching up to speed with all the work that he usually does. So you'll know that Rick is back when we have fancier thumbnails and better descriptions in the box below. Because that that is something that he's really good at, and he really adds a lot to the show by implementing those components. But in either case, you can help us. We are working on building, and we're working on bringing things and making sure that we can continue doing these streams with you guys. Freedomreporters.com. And hey, if you're not able to help us out financially, which I understand, you can also give us a help by giving this video a thumbs up. And you could also help by subscribing. You could also share with your friends and family. Anything that you could do, any of those things that you could do for us is going to be greatly appreciated. I really appreciate the help with it. Thank you so much for anybody who has contributed to us and who has been with the Maverick family all this time. I really got to say, I can't express my appreciation enough. Once again, you guys are really awesome. I'm very happy to be a part of this family with you. And there is more stuff happening in the near future with Maverick News. Stay tuned, guys, because we're not done yet. We got lots more tricks up our sleeves. And yeah, it'll be a matter of time. Rick who? LOL. That is the Rick Walker. He is the host of the show, the Maverick News Show. This is just the Brendan Kennedy Show. We're just doing that temporarily until Rick Walker comes back. And who knows, we'll do this maybe on days that Rick Walker takes off in the future. But right now, this is just kind of what we're doing. We're just hanging out, talking about stuff. And yeah. Now, with that being said, I thought we could do a quick James Top watch. James Top has been updating us on his journey all across Canada on foot. James Top, we have had on the show previously for a little bit of time, as you know, and he was significantly impacted when his job at the public service required a Fauci ouchie mandate. So what ultimately happened is James Top said no. He was placed on administrative leave as a result of that. And so the trucker convoy hit in Ottawa. At that point, he decided, well, what can I do to help to spread awareness about these concerns and that sort of thing? Well, he said, I'm a veteran. I'm an infantryman. I'll walk across Canada and bring awareness that way. And walk he has. So, going to bring up a quick screen share here. Bear with me, folks. And we will get an update on the Topinator, James Top.
Hello, everyone. 48.8 kilometers. We made it to Tompkins. And 10 hours or so of marching. One of the best things about Saskatchewan is the wind. It's at your back. Well, if you're going east. So that was helpful in getting us here. Didn't think, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it all the way here, but lo and behold, here we are. So good day today. For everyone who stopped to say hello, it was nice to meet you. And for everybody that we're going to meet along the way towards Swift Current, just be careful when you're pulling over on the side of the highway. Have a good one.
And what a milestone that is. So he has hit the Rocky Mountains, which would be no easy feat at all whatsoever. And he has made it through the prairies. Well, he's made it to the prairies. He's at Saskatchewan. He's crossed through Alberta. And we are starting to get into, well, semi-nice weather coming through in our time here in Canada. Usually in the spring, the nights are very cold. Fun fact: if you didn't know, more people in the West here, more of them die of hypothermia in the spring and in the fall because it's usually warm all day. You get sweaty and that sort of stuff, and you get cold at night, and that's usually what does it. So interesting fact. He's up against a lot. He's up against the elements. He is up against all the bugs that you could possibly imagine, especially once he hits Ontario. We have lots of different bugs in Ontario that will take a big bite out of you. We have black flies, mosquitoes, things I don't even want to imagine, things that are still in the recesses of the back of my mind that give me nightmares at night. So I salute James Topp, all Canadian hero, infantryman, veteran. He has served his country. He's serving our country now, and his big goal at this point is to get to Ottawa, Ontario, and that's it's going to be something. Let me tell you. And let's take a look at where he is currently at. We could track his whereabouts at any time, and I for one am very excited to see where he is going to make it. And he's also said he has skipped a few kilometers of marching along the BC highway because of safety issues. He wasn't able to cross. I think he is so he's going to have to he says he owes the Canadian people 70 more kilometers once he gets to Ottawa. So that still is going to be quite a bit of a march that he's going to have to do once he gets there. And somebody else also commented on the bugs. June bugs coming soon. Yuck. Yes. Absolutely crazy. So I wish him all the luck in the world. And, when you're an infantryman and a seasoned veteran like he is, he's aware of these things. He's aware of the troubles. And I think he's going to make out just fine. But you can tell he's just into Saskatchewan here. He has a little bit ways to go. He's going to have to cross into Manitoba and into out of Saskatchewan into Manitoba. And I think this is where it's going to be really hard to trek, is this whole bit down here through Thunder Bay. This is really tough country. So I think he's going to have challenges ahead of him. But Ontario is just a massive province. If you can't tell, all the way to Ottawa. That's the goal. Does anybody have any predictions about what's going to happen when James Topp gets to Ottawa? Are we going to see things like we had seen during the trucker rally, or do you think it's going to be a lot more gentle? What are your predictions? I'm interested to know what you think. We'll have to check that out. I love Jimmy Dore. Where's your James Topp comment? The new Blue Party is a woman and her husband. Yeah, that's right. What do you guys think about James Topp? Will the Canadian government let him in the province? Good question. I don't know. I've been looking at it in a couple of ways. That what's going to happen when he gets there? We'll have to see. They can't legally deny him access into Ontario. However, the past few years have shown us we don't really know. Basically 4 days by car. Yeah, it's a very long trip. I think he'll get arrested, Trudeau doesn't like him. Maybe they'll blockade him. Well, they might be able to. It's easy to blockade an automobile, but it's not easy to blockade an individual. That's something that's kind of different. Predictions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. Yes. I'm guilty of it. They'll ignore him. You know, I really hope not. We'll have to see. But it is a possibility. It's one of the things that can happen. In fact, I think you're probably right about that. I think that is the most likely scenario because we already know. I've said it on the show before. Whatever the mainstream media, whenever they can't control a narrative, they spin it. So they'll be silent on it, and then they'll spin it. G.I. James is going to fight Cobra. Well, that'd be interesting. Trudeau will run and hide. Oh, that would be very interesting. Trudeau won't even mention it. No, I don't think he will either. I don't think he will either. Big mistake if the U.S. does move into Ukraine. Yeah. I think when he gets to Ontario, several marches will start all over Ontario and link up in Ottawa. You know, I am curious to know if there is going to be a big reception for him in Ottawa. I know the city of Ottawa is definitely not going to like him. I highly doubt Diane Deans, the former member of the Ottawa Police Service Board, who infamously had stated on this program before that she wishes she could have gone at the trucker rally and started busting up bouncy castles. I highly doubt she'll be there with a ribbon and flag being like, "Oh, welcome, Mr. James Tops. Thank you." I think police will be waiting for James. We'll have to see. It's going to be frosty. Nice guy, James is. Absolutely top notch. They have to let him in, or else. Well, you know what? If he gets hurt in this, I think that it will be cause for grave concern. They'll have to be gentle with this whole situation. China just got there yesterday to help Russia resupply. I'm not sure. I'm hoping Mr. Top can get to talk with elected officials, but I doubt it. We should write to our MPs and let him in Parliament and talk. Yeah, and he did talk about that, Cindy, when he was on our show. Good point. A lot of people say these letter writing campaigns don't work, but hell, as far as I'm concerned, if 1 million people wrote a letter to the House of Commons in Canada, if 1 million people wrote a letter, think about, what do you think a mailbag with a million letters in it weighs? That's a lot of property that they have to move around, sort, look at. There's a lot of resources that are involved in that. And we're so accustomed to emails now. I mean, I don't ever write letters. I doubt a lot of you write letters either. So I think if people sent in actual letters to their politicians at their Queen's Park office, or not their Queen's Park, their House of Commons office, I think it might actually be enough to pull some sway. He is a hero to us all. I agree. He's my hero. Very proud of James, but really haven't thought much about any forms of protest once they blew the trucker protest up. Fair enough. Trudeau is going to hide behind Jagmeet. Legality doesn't mean crap anymore. Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean, Kim. You're right. It doesn't matter what's legal anymore. Those will do what they want. Then sort it out via lawfare. Then they'll offer you some kind of deal in court oh, if you just pay this amount of money now, then and plead guilty, your case will all be over. And then you don't get a verdict that you need or anything else. Measures being put in place to protect protesters from military police. Oh, well, I really hope so. He will likely have other veterans with him by then. Yes. Somebody already said in the chats earlier, they had mentioned the fact that Jamestown is probably going to have more people link up with him, and hopefully that is the case. We'll have to see. There's a biker rally happening in Ottawa on the 29th and 30th, I believe. It's called Rolling Thunder. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Okay. So, for our next bit here, I thought we'd do something different. Things are pretty crazy, and I've known about this video here for a long time. I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to review it. It is from G. Edward Griffin. And this is a American author, filmmaker, and also it is listed that he is a conspiracy theorist. Griffin's writings promote a number of right-wing views and conspiracy theories regarding various of his political, defense, and healthcare interests. In his book, World Without Cancer, he argued in favor of pseudoscientific theory that asserted cancer to be a nutritional deficiency. Anyway, this guy here he was a filmmaker for a huge amount of his life. I want to share with you a video that he made quite some time ago in regards to communist threats to the United States. There's some pretty deep stuff in here. Pretty deep stuff, but it's going to be worth a conversation nonetheless. So let me bring that up for you. Take 2 moments. Got to find the right tab. Oh, there it is. All right. Buckle up, folks. This is G. Edward Griffin in 1969.
That the racial differences among our people. As early as 1928, the communists declared that the racial differences among our people constituted the weakest and most vulnerable point in our social fabric. By constantly probing and straining at this one spot, they calculated that eventually the cloth could be torn apart and that Americans could be divided, weakened, and perhaps even set against each other in open combat. We mustn't kid ourselves into thinking that the communists have placed their agitators only into the black communities. They're working both sides of the street. They want hatred, violence, and bloodshed between the races, and they don't care how they get it or whom they use, even children if necessary. Here is a book that I think ought to be in every home library. It's entitled Color, Communism, and Common Sense by Manning Johnson. He joined the party as a young man because he honestly believed that the communists were trying to improve the conditions of his people. He was a dedicated communist, and eventually he rose to one of the highest ranks. But after many years, he discovered that instead they were merely planning to use his people in a bloody revolution to destroy America. And when he woke up to this, he dropped out of the party and devoted the rest of his life trying to alert his fellow citizens of all races to the true nature of the Communist Party as he knew it to be from the inside. Manning Johnson said, "Black rebellion was what Moscow wanted. Bloody racial conflict would split America. During the confusion, demoralization and panic would set in. Then finally the Reds say, workers stop work. Many of them seize arms by attacking arsenals. Street fights become frequent. Under the leadership of the Communist Party, the workers organize revolutionary committees to be in command of the uprising. Armed workers seize the principal government offices, invade the residences of the president and his cabinet members, arrest them, declare the old regime abolished, establish their own power." Now, here is a piece of vicious communist propaganda that perhaps some of you have seen. It's called The Crusader. It's written by Robert F. Williams, one of the organizers of the Revolutionary Action Movement. In this issue of The Crusader, the communists call not only for extensive chaos within the cities, but for putting to the torch every village, every forest, every field, and every barn. The plan is for raging fires from one city to the next. The reason? Well, first, there's the value of sheer destruction. Secondly, it would force us to deploy our defenses and rescue units over the widest possible area. The communists point out that as long as our police and National Guard remain concentrated, they're invincible. But if they can be forced to spread out over the entire city and into the countryside as well, then they can be picked off from ambush one by one. And the third value of massive fire to the communists is psychological. The average American, they say, soft and decadent, when he sees billows of black smoke rising from one horizon to the other, when at night the only light he has to see by is the flickering red from flames leaping into the sky, he'll become paralyzed with fear and panic. He'll run away and hide and do nothing to interfere with the guerrilla bands as they strike at the community's power centers. The Crusader explains how to set up sniper units in crowded metropolitan areas, how to manufacture jumbo Molotov cocktails, the gallon jug size, and how to mix the gasoline with certain ingredients to make it burn like napalm, how to pour gasoline into utility manholes in the streets to set fire to the main telephone cables, how to put sulfur tips from matches into air conditioning units and blow up large buildings, how to ignite gas mains and oil storage tanks. It explains how radio-controlled model airplanes can be used to fly explosive charges over heavily guarded fences into gasoline storage areas or munition stockpiles. It even calls for infiltration into the National Guard units, revolutionaries posing as non-militants for the purpose of getting free military training and for gaining access to critical military supplies and heavy weapons. And then, finally, Robert Williams says this: any all-out minority revolution must create a state of crisis wherein almost all of the male population would be forced to remain in their homes to protect their property and families. The middle class is very large, but it is not accustomed to deprivation and terror. Because of its affluence, it has waxed soft. It has no stomach for massive fire, blood, and violence. The motive force behind its life drive is its endless pursuit of prestige, conspicuous consumption, and sensual pleasure. A few years of violent, sporadic, and highly destructive uprisings will set the stage for the grand finale. After the stage is properly set through protracted struggle, America could be brought to her knees in 90 days of highly organized, fierce fighting, sabotage, and massive firestorm. Ladies and gentlemen, the plans and preparations for a communist revolution of force and violence are far advanced. The organization behind these preparations has almost unlimited financial resources, and it provides both training and leadership based upon years of experience in many other countries. Our enemies are deadly serious about their task, and it's nothing short of national suicide for us to continue to ignore their plans and their progress. The violent revolution becomes of primary value to the communists to the extent to which it can be used to condition the masses psychologically to accept the nonviolent revolution, which is offered supposedly as the only alternative. Hoping to avoid further violence and bloodshed, the public is to be pressured into accepting measures that will move the country gradually and legally toward communism, but without calling it that. The strategy of the proletarian revolution calls for the quiet conversion of our government into a communist regime, but under the banner of socialism. Well, what is socialism? All right, let's define it. According to the dictionary, socialism is a political concept based upon the principle of government ownership and control of property, the means of production, and the avenues of commerce. Under socialism, those who run the government, and the communists are confident that in America they eventually will be the ones who do so, those who run the government will know who is to get something and who has to wait. And that represents control over human beings. What has all this to do with the communist revolution in America? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has everything to do with it, because the building of socialism is the communist revolution in America. It represents the process whereby our country can be moved gradually toward communism without the people even being aware of it. No matter what grievance we may have, real or imagined, no matter what national problems we may face, the communists seize upon these as excuses to build socialism. They have one and only one solution for all problems: more government, and then more and more until it's total government. And forgive me for saying it one more time, total government is communism.
All right, everybody, as your leader.
As early as 19...
Hey, wait a minute. I thought I was the leader.
No. You're the vice president, Joe.
I thought I was.
And there we have it. G. Edward Griffin, 1969. The more time goes on, the more things stay the same. The more things change, the more they stay the same. That's what I was looking for right there. Yes. And thank you. Yes, I was muted there. Wow. Does that not bring a picture to your forefront? A lot of these tactics he was talking about does not bring flashbacks to all the riots that we had in 2020 and 2019. I can't get over, when I first saw this years ago, it just made my head almost implode. This guy is years ahead of his time. Now, I know that there was the Red Scare in the United States, and for those of you who don't know what the Red Scare was, a lot to do with McCarthyism, etc. A Red Scare is a promotion of widespread fear of potential rise of communism, anarchism, and other leftist ideologies by a society or state. It is often categorized as a political propaganda, etc. And in many respects, it is. But with this individual, it echoes true. Like, more government is more tyranny, and it always is. And when it comes to a lot of these tactics that we've seen leftist ideologues implement and play into society, that's what we're getting. We are getting more and more government all the time. We are getting more and more socialism, especially in Canada. We are getting lots of socialism in Canada. It's becoming very apparent. It's looking like Canada will definitely become more communist, I would say, than more communist, I would say, than the United States will ever be. But there's some realities that we have to look at here that he talks about. You can really clearly see that here at this part. Under the banner of socialism. This all plays into whenever the government makes attempts at pulling at your heartstrings. Oh, we need to feel bad for this person because they can't afford this, and this is going to help Joe the plumber afford his new dentures and blah 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 blah, and that sort of thing. it's all a ploy. It's all a trick. They know that things that are routed in empathy are going to be able to manipulate you to get it to vote for anything. I think that this video also very clearly highlights and shows that the government has been, these leftist groups, I mean, have been well versed in how to create chaos through protest and through other means, all kinds of different things. They are aware. These are things that they've been aware of for a long time. These are tactics that they've used for a long time. And as we had even seen from the mouths of BLM and their creators, who are in a lot of hot water right now, it turns out that they aren't really so much trained communists, but we do remember when they came out, they were self-professed communists and that they were trained Marxists and that sort of thing. And I was doing some thinking the other day. So that's how you know I'm in trouble. I've been thinking, right? But when it comes to all of these movements that have happened since Trump started getting into office, you look at Me Too, you look at BLM, Every Child Matters. I'm sure I'm missing one because there's one more that's supposed to fit in there. But all these movements are, and the LGBTQ agenda. You look at all of these movements, they're all rooted in the same thing, just like what he's talking about, where it's all rooted in the races and that sort of thing. These are all things that are rooted in identity politics. And when it comes to identity politics, we should all be concerned because all it does at any point is just divide people. And we've seen that. We've seen it especially when it comes to a lot of the violent protests that happened in the United States. And then we also seen that with Every Child Matters, where individuals were like, almost several, I can't remember the number, but there's a lot of churches that were burned down in Canada and defiled as well throughout that period after Every Child Matters. But all these movements routed in identity politics, routed in empathy, are all socialist backed and all want to bring in socialist ideologies and socialist things of that nature. I think he hits the nail on the head when it comes to having a discussion about this. And once again, the more things change, the more things stay the same. They weren't that different in 1969 when it came to these movements. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with Black Panthers and stuff like that. And I will grant this. The Jim Crow laws in the United States did need to be removed. They needed to be gotten rid of because I do believe that we are all created equal under the eyes of God, and that's where our man-made rights are given to us from. They're given to us from God. They're not bestowed upon us from politicians, but they are bestowed upon us from God. That's why the politicians are supposed to uphold those things. They do a terrible job at it. You don't need to remind me about that. I am aware of that. But the blueprint for all of these disasters and all of these social movements that have caused a lot of destruction and chaos and over the past few years in the entirety of the Western world, this stuff has been manufactured for a long time. They've known about this stuff for a long time. They've known how to social engineer this stuff for a long time. This is nothing new. I was really shocked when I first found out about this guy years ago, and I highly suggest you take a look into him a little bit more. There's lots you can learn about him. But with that being said, I will pass the question off to you guys. What do you guys think about this video? What do you think about the ideas that the social engineering and crisis engineering that we've seen is quite old? It's not that new. Um, and yeah, I would love to hear what you guys thought about this. Or is there anything else that maybe I missed in my discussion about this that you would like to bring to the table? So lay it out there for me, and we'll go through some more comments. Sorry, I got into a fight at your Black Panther party. I believe you're talking about Forrest Gump. Alex at other agendas, Korea and Vietnam and Mideast. Okay, I'm in the middle of an argument there or discussion. Aleister Crowley was determined to popularize yoga in the West. Same agenda as Alice Bailey, New Age. I'm not sure what that is. I'll be Bach. The government sees us as blocks of groups instead of one. So, as true Canadians, let's have a huge block party. I kind of like that idea. I think that more block parties would be way better than maybe a bunch of protests, because you wouldn't be able to do a whole lot about it, especially if you do them lawfully, like you get a permit to shut your street off and have a big block party. I think that could be potential to have a real cool party and also exercise your freedoms as a citizen. He's describing exactly what's happening, and it's only going to get worse. I fear you are right, Miss Jensky. I do. And it's crazy how far it's hit the nail on the head. And maybe I would have more hope if we didn't have a lot of these expected supply chain disasters that are about to happen. Because I do know if you shorten the supply chain, things are going to get messier. It's going to be different. There's going to be a wild card factor where we can try to make a change to whatever we want, but if their food goes way down, I'm worried about that. But I still don't want to give up hope. I still have all you guys, and you guys are amazing. Thanks for being here with me. And there is nothing new under the sun. Yes, tale as old as time. This guy was hitting the bullseye all through that speech. Damn right. And this was in a time way before Google, where, I mean, I had a serious conversation with myself, because I'm kind of in the gap between the pre-internet world and the post-internet world. So, I mean, when I was growing up, I didn't have access to computers until much later. Everything was researched via library cards and physical files and physical books and that sort of thing. This guy did all that research with just physical books. He hit the bullseye right on it. It's crazy how much we've been hammered with this type of stuff over the past 3-4 years. And it's the same thing every time. It's something that sparks outrage. Basically, the government creates a crisis. They create a solution for the crisis. It's just a self-defecating system. A layered system of fear and anxiety to move our thought process the way they want. Bah ha 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 ha. Maybe listen to Paul Harvey. If I Were the Devil, 1964. I will do that. Thank you. Let's see. Most whites, especially those on YouTube, won't be honest about the problems of white replacement. I don't know what you're talking about in that regard, because I, to be honest, don't really care. Everybody in my country who's a Canadian citizen should have the same rights as I do. I don't care what color they are. I really don't. What was old is new. Nothing changes except that now is the time that they actually think that they can pull it off. Yes. Excellent observation, Jack Frost. I really appreciate that. Brendan Kennedy as president for the Black Party. No, I'm no. G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, talks about how the elites and banks organize wars for profits and political control, and the central banks at Brendan Kennedy's. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think I might make it a point to actually go and check out some of his books and see what I might be able to hitch along with that. OS is strange. That it reminds me of Pierre. Look a little bit the same. I'm not sure what you mean. We need to dig up McCarthy and let him have at it with these pinko commies. I'm sorry, John. Thank you for making me laugh. That was absolutely incredible. I like your style. Don't ever stop being you. I love it. However, unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to revive him. Aleister Crowley was a black sorcerer. More hope. Laugh out loud. Buy a dehydrator and dehydrate some food. Yeah, you should. It's a good idea. We got a permit for a 420 party. Didn't last. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Yes, because people will get desperate. Yes, they will. Starvation always brings desperation. And if you want to see more, like, China has a long history of a lot of problems, especially when you look at kind of English intervention, the Opium Wars, just before World War II or during the 1930s, there was a civil war happening there between the Nationalist Party, which I believe had some kind of royalty backed into it, and the Communist Party, at which point Japan decided that they wanted to go in there. Japan was very brutal with the Chinese. A lot of people starved. A lot of people died. There was a lot of situations that arose out of it. There was a famine in the whole middle of the war as well. There's a lot of problems that happened with China, and starvation was one of them. And during that period where there was a civil war and Japan had invaded, there was a lot of starvation and a lot of cannibalism that happened at that point. So when you don't have food, things go a whole another level of crazy. Government is looking for public opinion what anti-racism laws they should enact survey. Interesting. My great-grandfather used to hang out with the Black Panthers group since he passed away in 19... oh, interesting. I hope 1 million people will meet him in Ottawa. I hope 1 million people meet Mr. James Top in Ottawa as well. And thanks for being here, Erica. Angelica Johnson. There is always hope. Yes. We got to maintain the hope, people. We can't be all doom and gloom. I like to be kind of doom and gloomy too much, I think. But I try my best to try and put a positive spin on things as best I can. I'm not, but anyway, I digress. Thanks, Miss Jetsky. Hugs for you too. People just need to breathe and pull together to help each other. People have become too soft. I agree with this. My grandmother, she was raised in Northern Ontario during the Depression, so 1930s Canada, during a depression, and she had lost her father at a very young age. So my great-grandfather, he had passed away. There was a horrific accident of some kind. But because of that, they weren't exactly well-off people, and they had to scrounge and make do with what they have and get together with their neighbors and make sure that everybody was all right. And you know what? If our forefathers could survive great atrocities and great tragedies, we could do it too. I truly believe that we have the ability to. We are too soft though. We got it too good here for too long. We're too used to going to the store, picking up our crinkle cut French fries, and when they're not there, we're like, "Well, what the hell is this?" Our system is very finicky, but it can be fixed. I'm just not sure what the route to get there at this point is. But we all got to toughen up, and we will get through this together. History is always repeating itself. When I watched Ukraine on Fire, I did absolutely fall in love with the quote by Mark Twain that they implemented. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often does rhyme. I'm kind of that persuasion. Once I heard that, I fell in love with it. Mark Twain. Do we need to stock up on toilet paper? It's more worrisome than the food supply chain, isn't it? I don't know. I'm not really that worried about it. I mean, I'm sure we all have old books and we all have old books and that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know. Like, see, even sitting here. Oh, look. There. Lots of toilet paper for you. It's just a crappy old notebook that I have kicking around. So anyway, that's the least of my problems, toilet paper. I'd be more worried about food. Brendan, I totally don't sound like that. I'm sorry, Julie. I did not mean to do that. No disrespect. I'm a terrible impersonationist. Some things I can do okay. However, that's not what this show is about. I will not be impersonating anything. As soon as I was born, the world was one I didn't want to partake in. I wish I was never born, honestly. Well, I do wish you were born. Thank you so much for being here. We got to keep positive. And look at the bright side. We do have access to the information that's being put out there. We need to arm ourselves with it. We need to understand history. We need to strive for the truth, and together we can make it through this. Most of the Fauci ouchied are sick now. On the contrary, we the unvaxxed have nothing. I'm not sure, but we are going through a massive spike in sickness, whatever it is, right now. But it happens every year at this time, so, I mean, what are you going to do? People get sick. It happens every year. Trump would say we need to clean the swamp. Drain the swamp. You're absolutely right, Karen. We do need to drain the swamp. That needs to take place. That needs to happen. Thank you. The fringe minority don't have the same rights in Canada. No. No, we don't. You missed that last one. I'm not sure. I've been Fauci ouchie times 2. No COVID. Has to work right through, but still think I have side effects from. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. My heart goes out to you. I don't wish that on anybody. That depends. I don't think so, and I hope not. My early... Yeah, I concur. Hi there, what happened to Rick? Rick will be back tomorrow. Rick is resting up, and he is eating up and getting his strength back so that he can continue to fight the information war with me and with you, and we can continue on with that tomorrow. Trudeau cares about color, and he's white. he should replace himself with a multicultural group of leaders to lead the country. I don't know. It could be. I'm not sure what you're getting at with that, but multicultural group of leaders to lead the country. I don't know. That sounds like a disaster because you're bringing identity politics into it. And once you bring identity politics into anything, it just falls apart. I noticed gas prices are stable now, still very high, but staying consistent. I hope it isn't the calm before the storm. They can hit us with a massive increase. Never know. I think it's going to go back up. We are seeing out in the UK and in Ireland very high fuel prices. There was a significant convoy or road blockade that occurred with a number of transports, I believe yesterday or the day before. So yeah, I believe gas prices are a little bit higher out in Europe. However, we'll have to wait and see. It's a wait and see game. Rick in a dark interrogation room. Well, they give you that little interrogation light. He'll be fine. He'll be all right. A lot of micro stuff I can't say on YouTube. It's strange. Him and Pierre Poilievre look the same, sort of misspelling. Thanks for clarifying that for me, Kevin. I do appreciate it. Kind of. A little bit. Maybe put some glasses on him and... yeah. Kind of funny. Now that you mention it, he does have the same kind of voice almost as Pierre Poilievre, that transatlantic kind of accent. Yeah, no problem, Mary. You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back. Let's not forget that they need our consent, so they tell us ahead of time their plans, but they know most of us are stupid. I'm not sure that most of us are stupid, but we do suffer from what I like to call short news cycle syndrome, where people forget about things quickly that aren't in their brain anymore. So yeah, I miss Rick's rants. He needs to create a segment. Yes, I miss his rants too, and I assure you he's still ranting, but a little bit more lethargically. He'll be back tomorrow after some rest, but we're gonna pro through this. We're all in this together, right? Or, well, I don't need to say buzzwords like that to you guys, but he'll pull through. Rick Walker's gonna be all right. I got my eye on him. He's gonna be fine. I'm eating the vegans first. They're so pure. They probably lack nutrition, maybe. Har 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 har. I joke. A lot of white people say they don't care about race because they are ignorant of what the implication of white replacement is. Oh, what is that? Dare, pray, tell us, what is the implications of white replacement? Look, identity politics are dangerous. It's just a game I don't play. We're all entitled to the same piece of paper that's supposed to, and I mean supposed to, guarantee us the same protections, but at the end of the day, look where we are. We're all in the same boat here. People of every color in Ottawa, Canada have been beaten and pulverized by police. Look, there's a lot of problems out there, and that is not one that I care to think about because I just don't care. World's worst game, meeting God, is not religion. It is relationship with him. Here in Calgary, Alberta, you can get a permit to have chickens in backyards. Maybe they know we will eventually need to farm in this city for survival. It's a very good point. In Ontario, they don't let you do that at all, ever. In a lot of places, I believe they test tried it out in Toronto, but I'm not sure. In either case, thank you for your comment. Yeah, I'm not afraid of it. I mean, more people are afraid of it than I am, but after everything they've already done to me, I'm like, whatever. Community gardens would be a great thing to start up. Yes, I do have several of those in my neighborhood. It helps build connections with your neighbors. I do think that we don't have enough connections with our neighbors anymore. Hardly anybody ever talks to their neighbors ever anymore. There used to be a time, though, when everybody talked to their neighbors. I kind of miss those days. Some people absolutely hate it, but hey, I'm one for a strong community can get through anything. All Canadian hero G.I. James. You can't be an American and put positive spin on any of this bull that's happening. Well, no, I'm not American, so. No ducks, though. They honk. No, geese honk. Ducks quack. Just remember. All right, and last comment of the evening will go to Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. Buy a bag of potatoes and cut those fries yourself. Thank you. I do appreciate that. That was the second last comment. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, Rick will be better soon. He'll be back tomorrow. We have fringe unacceptable views. Yeah, we do. Well, let's see. China said they need more oil. It's going to jump more than double. And we all know who China is going to do their business with on that, right? They're probably going to work with Russia, and everybody else will be like, well, we're not going to buy Russia stuff, and so on and so forth. But in either case, we're going to wrap up the show. I know it's a little bit earlier than normal, but when self-producing and everything else I have to do in the day, it's not as easy to fill a 3-hour show. However, I feel this is good enough. In the meantime, we'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m., hopefully with Rick Walker in tow. I'll make sure to put that in the description as well as freedomreporters.com. And remember, if you want to support us, you can go to freedomsupporters.com, freedomreporters.com. And if you could also support us by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing and maybe even sharing with your friends and family, greatly appreciated. But hey, the takeaway from tonight is we looked at some concerning things coming out of Shanghai and China, and we talked about the possibility of further adding to our supply disruptions at the beginning of the show. We've talked about left-wing media trying to swim to spin Pierre Poilievre as the Trumpification. We've talked about all that already at the beginning of the show. And we also took a moment to listen to G. Edward Griffin from his 1969 clip that he had on communism and some concerns that we had with it. And so, yeah, we'll have to... we'll be reconvening on a lot of these new topics tomorrow. And I look forward to coming back. And thanks for putting up with my shenanigans while Rick Walker has been gone. But in either case, I appreciate every one of you. And I'm so glad that you came out to delve into this stuff with me and take this journey with me. Thank you very much. And I can't wait to be back tomorrow. And we'll have more of these discussions. In either case, my name is Brendan Kennedy, the host of The Brendan Kennedy Show and the co-host of Maverick News. And hopefully we'll be back under the Maverick News banner tomorrow. But in either case, thank you so much. Good night. God bless. I'll see you then.